And his ass cheeks were the flattest ass cheeks ever.
This was just about the worst call I've ever seen, ever.
Maybe the stupidest thing ever said. Ever.
There's a family with the flu on every single flight ever taken off, ever.
That's as stupid a thing as we've heard ever. You have an image of Jonah Hill kissing you on your dick, you'll never get that out of your head, ever.
That was the softest prediction in the history of predictions.
The most insane statistic in the history of statistics.
The softest guy in the history of guys. The creepiest hug in the history of hugs. My favorite vine in the history of Vine.
No joke, this is the dumbest thing maybe in the history of the blog. It's the most outrageous scam in the history of civilization. Slowest day in the history of the internet. The worst pitch in the history of the playoff.
The biggest injury / knockout to the smallest jump in the history of bike flips. You could be the most wrong about this subject of any subject we've ever talked in the history of Barstool. It was the most obvious thing in the history of the world.
One of the great games in the history of the National Football League.
This is the best thing I've ever seen. That was the best play I've ever seen.
The dumbest thing I've ever seen. When I remember running the 4th of July races in Swampscott, I'd be 7 or 8. I was the fastest kid in the world.
He had the worst trip of all time.
That has to be a low point just of all time. Which is the most outrageous thing of all time.
The most easily murderable guy, like, of all time.
Resumes in general are like the dumbest thing of all time.
The blacks, Asians, Jews, whites, put them all in a room and I'd watch it. That would be the best reality show of all time.
Maybe the greatest mousetrap of all time. Just the guiltiest mugshot of all time. The most bizarre, sort of funny videos I've ever seen. That may have been the most un-American thing I've ever seen. Henry has the worst hair in the world.